Teams? Can you see it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, just I'm waiting for somebody to let me in.
All right. Well, you're already on here, so just grab it. Okay. Thanks for coming, everyone. I appreciate it. My name is Jaslyn Jacobs, as you guys already know. I'm the web and print technology instructor here at St. George's. I invited you all here just to give your feedback on industry standards as far as us getting our programs where it needs to be for our students to be successful when they graduate and when they go out.
Introduce myself?
Yeah, we're going to go around and introduce ourselves. So we'll start with Stanley Banks.
I'm Stan Banks.
Stan.
I am. I have a print shop called Gourmet Print Design in Wilmington, and then I travel and I teach this industry, print, hands-on printing, and different things like that. That's it.
Cortland, you want to chime in and introduce yourself? Cortland.
Hey, I'm Cortland Ellis.
Cortland Ellis.
Yeah, Cortland. I do storyboarding and character design in here. So, yeah.
Who are you working for right now? He was with Decoy, but you freelancing, right?
Yeah, I'm freelance now.
Hello, my name is Lachelle Dickinson. I'm a graduate of St. George's. I am a creative entrepreneur. I have two businesses, custom design, mostly clothes and accessories, as well as a small business consulting firm for artists and nonprofits, and that goes providing service for administration to media, social media, branding, and marketing.
All right. So, did you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Nina Burnett. I'm a technical career exploratory instructor here at St. George's, and I'm going to be the note taker today.
All right. So, I'm going to just literally follow this itinerary that they gave us. This is my first time running this meeting. I sat in it last year just to get like an overview. So, this is my first time running it. So, bear with me. I will ask you guys some additional questions that are not on the itinerary just to get you guys feedback. So I'm going to start with co-op. So this year our seniors co-op. So we have 17 seniors, 11 of co-oping. Majority of them are in the print graphic design industry. And I would say maybe like 5 of them aren't. So what I've noticed is just trying to get opportunities for them in this industry has been a little rough, at least around here. There are a lot of print shops, but just reaching out to them and trying to get that connection with the seniors is what I'm trying to strive to do. So, I guess I can start with asking like some employability skills. I start with you, just because we do have the 2 interns that are coming. So with you onboarding these interns, what are you specifically looking for as far as employability skills from the students?
I don't mind teaching, every business or every client. We have a toolkit, so we know what colors and fonts and all those things that we're using, but being able to learn is the most important thing, and the ability to shift.
Okay.
I know when I was in high school, I was so offended by criticism, and I struggled with receiving it.
Right.
So just being able to learn how to hear it often,
Right.
And then also feeling, I guess, the courage maybe is the word, to be able to express your own ideas, present them,
Right.
and finally, I would say just professionalism.
Yeah.
A lot of students don't know how to communicate themselves and promote themselves as an individual. And I would say, especially for a shop like this, you are the business. Your skills are the business. Being able to articulate that from a very early stage in your life, because going to college, if they decide to do something else, web and print and those skills are what can get you through school
Right.
without loans. So being able to communicate their visions, who they
Right.
are, and through writing, especially.
Yeah.
Because I've emails before where it's just like, who are you talking to?
Right, and we've gone over that in school, not to go way left with that, but as far as critiques, I started doing critiques this year, and it's rough at first, but I'm like, y'all got to get over it, because this is what's going to happen. You're going to make a design and someone say, I don't like it, you can't get any feelings about it. It is what it is, move on. So that's good to hear. And as far as you, I know we spoke about how students aren't able to run a t-shirt shop as far as like their skills, knowing how to do those, how to run the machines. So from your perspective on that end, what are you guys looking for? What do you see that students need to have as far as hiring these students?
So I even speaking from in the past when we hired students from Del Castle before, from the design side, having them be able to work on real life scenarios that they will be experiencing with clients.
That's good.
And then by their senior year, it being a speed thing. So learning the skills from the first 3 years to maybe the semester before they go out to get employed, giving them projects that they got to work on in speed.
Right.
Because when you transition from learning through a book through chapters and tools,
Right.
it's a longer process, but being able to turn a project around faster. We had hired Calvin, who's now a teacher at Howard now. I don't know what role he's in, but he actually just won Teacher of the Year. But one of the things when he first came into the shop was...
with the glasses?
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the things I worked with him on when he first came into the shop was you can't be emotionally attached, which is what y'all just talk about work, and you gotta turn it around fast, right? Especially depending on what it is that you're doing. You might be in a scenario like at one of the magazine companies where you got a month to organize a catalog or something, but being able to turn around faster. So then there's still time for revisions.
Right.
So being able to move through projects fast, I think, is important. And then on the hands-on side, really, a lot of the students that came through couldn't actually print. So then the only place that they're full in is some of the things that are like, okay, folding shirts or counting shirts or different things like that. So that actual element with being able to be more hands-on and be efficient enough. Like we understand they're gonna make mistakes, but most of the print shops are owner-operated. They're not like huge companies. Some of them could be larger. So the transition of learning and teaching, especially on the East Coast, is a lot tougher because you like foot to the fire almost. You know what I'm saying? And so the owner doesn't have a lot of time to train you because of the way that the pricing and margins work. We only had one person that came in ready to print. She actually, Deja, who lasted quite some time. So I think those two aspects will be the main things that that matter, because if not, it's kind of a burden on somebody hiring them. They don't have like that bare minimum knowledge to be able to run a job start to finish. Maybe not the complex jobs, but a one color print, you know what I mean? So that maybe I got to show you on my equipment, but the method of printing is kind of the same since.
Okay, that was good. I guess I might as well ask Cortland. I was going to go to the next one, but Cortland, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So from your perspective, I know you do freelance, but you've worked with a younger crowd here and there. And what do you think as far as when you're getting into your industry, what is needed from students or even a younger crowd that's missing that we can implement into our career area? Like whether it's like programs or tools or software.
So it's kind of different depending on which industry you're trying to go into, because there's character design, which I do, and then there's storyboarding. If you're going in for concept art and character design, I think a lot of companies like you to know like how to use Photoshop, like be proficient in Photoshop, or alternatives like Procreate, which a lot of the industry is using professionally now on iPad Pro. There's also Clip Studio, which is iPad Pro and desktop. All three of those are like really good for like if you're doing like digital character design or digital concept art. If you're doing storyboarding, there's always the traditional way, like if you have like paper. But now the industry standard is usually Toon Boom Storyboard Pro, and that's what I've used on all of my jobs. They like you to be proficient in Storyboard Pro, and that's not too bad. Like it took me about a week to learn before my first storyboard project. But outside of that, they want you to be able to pick things up fast, because like even if it's an internship, like nobody wants to like slow down their production because of somebody new.
So how do you feel about Blender?
Say that again?
How do you feel about Blender?
Blender, I also use
Okay.
for my current project. I use Blender for our backgrounds on a TV show, but I don't, because Blender is a 3D program. This is literally the first time I've ever had to use it. It's definitely great to know. I think the industry standard for like 3D modeling, because I'm not a 3D modeler, is like something like Maya. I notice a lot of people use that, but Blender is like the free version. It's great.
Yeah.
To know how to use that.
Okay. I was just asking because we do have Blender, and a lot of students ask me about Blender, but I never use Blender, but I do allow them to explore it. And I was kind of like on the fence whether I should implement that into our program or not, because I do have students who want to do character design, who want to do animation, who want to do other things and just graphic design. So I was just wondering if that was...
I would say it's definitely a useful tool to learn, and it'll give you, if that's your intro to 3D art, it's a great intro. It's a very powerful.
Okay.
It does more than just 3D. It does like, you can do things like grease pencil, animation, and all sorts of things. It's definitely not going to hurt you to know Blender.
Okay. All right.
Excuse me if I ask, he said with the character design, Photoshop, Clip Studio, and there was a third one.
What was the other program you stated? You said storyboard.
Procreate.
All right, now for our shop, it's been kind of like a back and forth whether or not we should implement certifications. I have been looking into Adobe certifications for Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. As we all probably know, it's not needed, but as time goes on, jobs are asking for it. So I was kind of on the fence on whether or not we should implement any certifications. Do you guys have any feedback on if we should go that route or not? I have established St. George's as a testing site for Adobe certifications, and we are going to implement it, but I'm just wondering if it's a need because other shops and other schools in this district are like against it. So I'm the one that's like for it, but I just want to get you guys feedback on what do you think.
I think from a technical aspect of getting the students know like how proficient they are, it could aid their confidence in different things like that. But from a practical standpoint, I think if their portfolios are of working portfolios, if they could come out of this with a portfolio that doesn't look like it was made in class, and again, that comes from more realistic real world scenarios of what a client might need. So I don't think it would be honestly necessary at all. More so everything goes off of the work that you can show. More so than
And then like the kind of tug that we've been getting is because the other teachers are saying they just want to see your portfolio. They don't care about the certifications, and a lot of them don't. However, what you said first was just to let these companies know that I am an expert in these areas. It's kind of a jump for the students because they're just high school students. So instead of going in there and, hey, I'm a 12th grader at St. George's and I'm here to apply for whatever, bam, I have this certification. I know what I'm doing. So
Yeah, I think I think if they have it and their portfolios match,
yeah,
I think it will give them a step up over someone else for
right.
for like an entry level job or something like.
Okay.
I think it could help and aid to that, but I still think the portfolio is going to be
Yeah, it's going to speak
the
volumes.
key
Yeah.
as far as that goes. However, I do think on the opposite side of it, what we kind of discussed before, is this closely related to other skills. If they had certifications in some form of marketing when it comes to design and how that type of stuff is more advantageous because companies are trying to get more
Yeah,
out of
from
one
one
person.
Yeah.
So they may be the person in graphic design, but they may also serve under somebody who's like the chief of marketing.
Right.
In an instance, right? If they had some proficiency in social media, some type of certification, it doesn't have to be like some board national type of deal because there aren't any. But if there was something that they could like tighten up their certification and stuff with, would be nice.
Okay. Portland, do you have any feedback on certifications or what you've been noticing, even for yourself?
I pretty much agree with what he said. Like, yeah, it's not gonna hurt to have like a certification, but I don't think that like I've never been asked about anything like that. It might help at entry level, like he said, but yeah, your portfolio speaks volumes. The main thing that people are gonna look at and consistency between like your work and your portfolio. Uh, yeah.
Okay. Did you want to add
No.
to that? Okay. All right. Moving on to. Well, this kind of doesn't apply to me yet because it's my first year. Curriculum. Okay. So curriculum. So far I've been teaching Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. We are going to tackle some Dreamweaver. However, I'm trying to move away from that just because a lot of people are using WordPress, and even further out to whatever you was talking about earlier. And we've dabbled a little bit into Adobe After Effects. Um, do you guys have any programs as far as this window of graphic design, web design, business that we can add to the program? I know a lot of like the students are fluent in Canva. I know a lot of jobs use Canva. They use WordPress, they use Excel, they use different things. But do you guys have any other? I know you spoke about.
So what I would say is you can almost completely do away with Dreamweaver.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Um, InDesign is great. I actually still use InDesign when I do book stuff and stuff like that. I think the key today, is from a web design standpoint, what we talked about is understanding, uh, I guess in a sense, funnels, which is a modern day application of a website and how it runs business, design it for conversions, and different things like that. So more of the principles about how a website is working today because it's
Right.
not the same as it used to be. Home, about, product,
Right.
service, none of that type, understanding that type of stuff. And then also like SEO for businesses. And it's not SEO in the sense of like blogging, but more so of like localized business or specialized business where AI can't answer the question per se.
Right.
And so those things don't tie to a program; it ties to a theory.
Right.
And so if they can learn those things, the modern day functions of a website is there. For all the main Adobe suites, if they're learning that, they coming out at the top. Canva They should understand it, but
Right.
not be taught it. I
Yeah.
think that is a product of people trying to get more out of one person,
Yeah.
or them trying to do it themselves, which they've actually come a long way as far as what people output from it. So if they can understand a little bit, because they be receiving stuff from there, but on the most part, if they learning them top one, you come in with like a person who can hand draw, Procreate, and
Yeah.
understanding how to take that Procreate and put it into Illustrator or Photoshop to do whatever enhancements they need for printing, for enlarging and lowering, like stuff like that is going to be more so important. I mean, they're learning the right programs. It's just the
Right.
theories behind how all this stuff now is technically marketing in the aspects, or you
Right.
design in that manner.
Okay, so that's something to implement into the program. So, Cortland, what do you think about? So wait, before I move to you, Cortland, I'm sorry. WordPress. Do you think that's necessary
So
or?
WordPress fine, which would be the most widely used platform for websites.
Right.
However, um, it doesn't like they don't need to know how to go in and build a website from scratch. More so in a template,
Right.
and being able to get it to function the way that they want is very valuable, because you can build funnels on WordPress, you can build it on ClickFunnels or whatever. Again, it's gonna go back to the core. It's like Adobe using a different program. It's like the core functions of these things are the same.
Are the same. Yeah.
But you have to find a button or like get adjusted to a specific thing.
Right. Okay,
And so
see
I
what
think
you're
the
saying.
theory of how they work is more important, but WordPress definitely want to help because it's the most used
Okay.
program.
All right. So Cortland, coming to you, because I introduced the students to Adobe After Effects, but I don't know if that's necessary. And I was using that for more so digital marketing, like when you go on a website and you have an animated ad, or um, I'm not going to really say email, well, email marketing to some extent, but going in that direction with it, not so much like character design or other animations, like kind of like commercials, but not too animated with it. It's kind of like a quick little digital marketing animation for the students to get accustomed to, because I've seen jobs kind of ask for that skill, but I don't know if it's necessary moving forward. What do you think?
Right. Yeah, from a motion graphics perspective, yeah, you can use I don't use After Effects for like any animation or anything. It's not the best tool for that. It's mostly for motion graphics. So like if you're
Oh,
working,
okay.
so I would say you're using it correctly.
Okay.
Outside of that, if you're on the motion graphics side of things, like I think it's probably, I don't know if you mentioned it, but it's probably important that you have something like along the lines of Premiere.
Okay, yeah.
Like the alternative is like Final Cut.
Oh, okay.
But Premiere is within the Adobe suite.
Right.
And that's just for, editing your videos like quickly and easily. There is also Media Encoder. If you want to give yourself the ability to edit audio in a quick way. But I was a designer, and yeah, After Effects for like creating the motion graphic animation. Premiere's just for editing.
Okay.
Yeah, to add to that, I didn't bring up like video side of it because the other program is here,
Right.
which is
What
kind
other
of, y'all have is it a studio here? Or maybe I was when I was visiting
That's
Delcastle.
yeah, they'll got
Yeah,
too.
took my daughter around, so I can't tell a shop. Well, I think video editing would be a great skill to finish out with.
Right.
Again, going back to companies want people who can do,
A lot.
like you don't have to be the best, but you got to know enough to be able to bring something home, make a quick edit to something, make a quick change to something. So video editing, if they could brush up on inserting that into it, would be a great addition to any graphic designer. Just because you become a little bit more valuable in the sense of like social media, how closely like something like that relates to showing up from digital to the phone and stuff like that.
Okay. And then from your aspect, do you have any programs that you use in addition to, or even outside of what we're talking about, for your company that maybe we can implement, whether it's something marketing or tool that you think students can use, that they may need to know, or something that you've run across yourself that maybe you want to know, but maybe we can use in the class as well?
I don't think so, but I would just echo the video aspect of things just because that's where we're at. And I get asked for that.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's something that I don't like to do.
Right. Okay.
So and a lot of people, because when people come, sometimes when they come to me, they're asking for graphic design, they don't know what it is. It's like, I just need content. They don't have words to articulate what they want. And they just see someone else's Instagram and they want their Instagram to look like that. So being able to do all the things, as we say, being able to do and shape shift into each of those on each of those platforms.
Okay.
I think that's necessary.
All right. Equipment. So equipment for this shop, my main goal is to get us some large printers where we can print signs, banners, and like posters. Also some cameras so we can take videos, so we can record. Maybe some additional programming as well, like what you said, Cortland, with Premiere. Maybe we can add that to our shop as well. Because I didn't even think about Premiere. I don't know why, but I didn't think about that.
Yeah, the only reason, like I said, I've been walking through the shops. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I didn't even think about adding Premiere, but that's a good one. But even that we can do all those things with. I have a green screen. I have a ring light, so it's kind of going there, but it's not there yet. So do you have any suggestions? I'll start with Stanley, or Stan, sorry. I'm so used to calling you that, my bad. That you would like to suggest?
I think, again, going back to the beginning of this, it's about practical application. And so it's important for you to understand the total chain of stuff. Meaning you designed it, but what is it going to come out looking like? You know, working inside of templates, and then understanding why that bleed is there, because you get to take this product and now you got to trim it and different things like that, and people don't know. So I get graphics from people, and then I have to go through and I have to fix it. So I would say having large format printer, EcoSolvent is so many applications for. That would be a great, for everything that you guys are doing in the sense of print media. It's more of the digital media side, and what that translates to coming out of the other side, out of the computer. And it's also important to understand color, and you can't understand what you see. We tell them CMYK versus RBG, but you don't necessarily understand until a color is off. And when you're working inside of companies, there are some that are very, very particular about their Pantones. And so with the new form of print, which is taking over the industry, which is DTF, it's a big problem when you send something for some shirts, maybe to school, and your blues or purples are coming out the opposite, or your oranges or your red is orange, and different things like that. So being able to see through that entire process to a finished product and its actual application is important. So large format EcoSolvent stuff. If we can get into garment making, I think those are skills that are really, really important. So now, if you are working on something where it's a multimedia campaign and you have to come up with a shirt, understanding vector artwork,
Right,
understanding
exactly.
what happens when you send something and they, because if not, it's everything that's going to cost a company more money at the
Yep.
end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you end up in a place that's spending a big budget.
Right.
The bigger budget isn't for technically better work, but it's for in case something goes wrong.
Right.
You know, we're paid enough that those mistakes shouldn't happen and different things like that. So
Right.
that side of being able to produce garments, possibly embroidery, screen printing,
Yeah.
um,
We definitely want
yeah,
embroidery.
those main pieces. And I think today, again, considering that that shop isn't here, cameras,
Mm-hmm.
being able to film, being able to maybe have a makeshift studio so that
Right.
they can understand, you know, what product photography is, to put it into the ad, again, makes it all more applicable to places that they are potentially working at. So,
Right. And that's what I'm trying to bring to this shop, is because the students never understood when I designed this, there is a process to when you print it. That's a whole nother something else. And so everything that you said I agree with, because they don't know and they need to know what a bleed is and why it's there. I went over that with my 10th graders. Now they understand. Um, but having that tool to produce that is a problem, because they know it, but they haven't seen it. So we do need those printers and all those things to get to that point. And Cortland, now I've had some students um, request Wacom tablets. I've had students bring in tablets. We have tablets, but we don't have the pens to them. Do you think that that's industry standard? Do you think it's necessary um, for them to learn, like a skill that they should learn, or should I just do away with it? What are your thoughts?
I would say absolutely. I think the industry, like right now, is primarily digital. It's just better as far as production goes. There are certain cases where you might use like traditional for something, but as far as like animation and stuff like that, like everybody's using digital. I would I would definitely encourage using
Okay.
something along the lines of a Cintiq or a Cintiq One.
You said a Cintiq.
Yeah,
Okay.
Cintiq. Drawing tablet is fine. Like at beginning stages, it's not quite the same because it doesn't necessarily have a screen. There's also iPad Pro that can be a good substitute. A lot of people do use that professionally now, not necessarily for animation, but for like if you're doing like character design and stuff like that,
Okay.
it's perfect. But as far as the animation industry, yeah, I would definitely encourage like using something along the lines of a Cintiq, or there are a few other alternative monitor tablets. I forget the names of them right now, but there are alternatives cheaper also.
Do you have any equipment that you like to suggest?
Yeah, well, I told you about the camera and just knowing also how to capture products and then editing them so they can be put on a website.
Right.
Because that's something that I'm struggling with, just like capturing my own products. And it's like, okay, let's go on a camera, but then when I put it into something to edit, it doesn't look the same. So that, and if we're going into more like the studio, like you're speaking, editing audio, what does that look like? If you guys are going down that
capturing
path,
audio.
I was going to say capturing like podcast microphone.
Yeah.
Even like when you're capturing content, should you use a microphone or can you just use your regular phone? Should you use a digital camera? Those type of things, and defining what the difference of those products, what does that like, and the benefit of editing audio.
And to go back to what he said about character design, illustration as a whole is something that AI is not necessarily struggling with, but what you find is that illustration is a little bit underrated, because there's what I've always been good at in this industry is like manipulating. Like I couldn't really create from scratch. I would get help. But once I had the overall design of things, I could then go in and finish it up or finalize it. And so today, the illustration piece, I think a lot of people don't necessarily have that skill. Everybody knows to use Photoshop.
Right.
Photoshop translates into Canva,
Right.
but the difference maker in this case becomes the illustration piece of vector artwork.
Yeah.
That's where I think the skill set for print
Yeah.
is lost, right? Because outside of anything digital, everything else, when you talking about blowing it up or something,
Right.
you know, and that's what people struggle with Canva is like now you have to recreate this entire thing at a resolution that could be printed the size that you want it
Right.
because you have no idea about those core principles again. So I think a broader understanding for those who can illustrate, who can draw, and then more so the manipulation piece after the fact too.
Alright, so the last piece here is just feedback. I was going to go through additional questions, but I think honestly you answered majority of these additional questions as we kind of went along. It just talks about like what software should we add, what products, employability skills for the students, stuff like that. So
I think it'd be important to insert what we kind of about AI into the conversation for their for them. If they want to answer, I'll finish that one.
Cortland, do you want to add to the AI? I know you're probably completely against it just because of the realm of what you do.
No, I don't really have anything.
Do you have any?
I love it as for feedback. So when my client gives me a description of what they want and how they want it to impact their so I work like one of my clients in a restaurant and how they want it to impact their audience. Sometimes I have an opinion of what I think it's going to be. So I'll say AI, like, what do you think about this?
Right.
Based on what the criteria is and use it for feedback.
Right.
If I'm stuck sometimes, or even like copy. When I was doing digital creation for the restaurant, they want me to come up with a caption. That's not what I want to do.
Right.
I don't want to do it. So that kind of helped bridge the gap, and it goes back into time. When time is on the line,
right.
No one has time to be trying to think and do that type of extra work.
Right.
Or I don't want to. Right. I guess I do have time. So utilizing it in a way that it benefits you, but also doesn't stifle your creativity.
Right.
And because it's becoming more active, not just in I guess the workforce, but just in everyday life, I think that if we can get ahead of it and teach students how to use it for benefit, because at some point everyone's going to be using it, so it's not going to be this special thing. And so the people who are not using it or able to kind of take a step back from it are going to be the ones that kind of are going to be unique. So having that balance until things shift is important.
I think to expand upon what she was saying, I think one of the important things is copy. And with us being, again, going back to the same thing, it's like they want so much more out of us. And that's where the training of like the logic behind how some of this stuff is intended to work now, like funnels and stuff like that. Now we're able to get, okay, I got to work with said company. All right, well, what would be an interesting way? Because now they're asking us as graphic designers, because we know what it's supposed to look like, that we are going to create copy and call to actions and different things like that. They have to understand those principles and philosophies. But today, now, AI, if they put enough into it, AI will give them full breakdown of the copy for a funnel. And be pretty accurate enough to go back with a model for the client or company to see, and then them being able to tweak it without us spending 1,000. And the grammar, if you know, for us creators, grammar is not something that is great. So using it for that and say, hey, I'm working on it. Here's this type of product it is. Can you give me copy for this, including these, and then that student being able to tell them the elements that it needs. It knows, but for that student being able to tell it what elements they need based on their knowledge and being able to turn it into now a working prototype is important. The second thing when it comes to AI is AI using it as a tool, knowing enough to be able to touch different pieces.
Right.
Today, again, you don't have to be an expert. You should be an expert at least something, but you still have to know enough to how this works with this, right? What translates and how everything is going to come out to one final product, so that you can at least still even work with someone else or pick up some slack, because the marketing person is going to be working directly with you. It's just the two of you trying to perform tasks that may end up being, oh, we need an Instagram video for this. So now it's like, well, it ain't gonna be the best one, but I'm functional enough to get it done. And if you want a specialist, then you go back and say, we need more resources. And I think the last piece for feedback overall is, like right now I'm working with a company that's a magazine company, right? All printed magazines, the layouts, same stuff that we would do in this class. And them understanding that now it's like you go through the entire company structure and everything like that, and you got to understand today is a digital age, right? And so it's not print, it's multimedia, and the core of that is now it is video, social, physical print, digital print, email copy. So now all of these things are one. So now I'm working with them to bring them to kind of like, okay, we got to rethink how we disseminate content, because it's about reach. Now what we do is about how can we expand the reach. I may be here in the physical today, which may get with like one of the shows that take 3,000 people. But when I leave show, I got a potential to go reach 3,000 more, but probably 50, 100,000 more, depending on how I'm able to retail after the fact. So today companies are selling reach now, right? Like being a valuable influencer is my reach, and it's all digital, because I look at companies, they spend $13,000 to get in front of 100 people. Well, you can give me 13,000, and I'm gonna get you at least in one video in front of, 3,000 people. So that's where the value exchange is changing a little bit. So just making sure they understand how it all translates and works together. They gotta have a wide toolkit. They can have something that they're gifted at. Some may be video, some may be, whatever those are, and you want to get them deeper into that topic, but give them a full palette of you can go any direction.
Kind of outlining the lessons or the overall program. 10th grade, we started at the beginning of the year with just principles of design, but then we went to print design, then we went to digital. So we did like flyers, brochures, business cards. Then we started doing interactive emails, websites, and GIFs, and all this like little animation stuff that's going to build up to all of what you're saying. And then, like you said, we should end with the video towards the end of it. So I agree with all of you saying, to kind of mesh it all together, because that's what they're asking for. Do you have any feedback?
No, I would just like to reiterate the other side of this, because like I said earlier, it's a business, and just being able to advocate for yourself and learning, how much should things cost, and learning how to do that, because people are going to test you, especially when you're working with like the boomers and the generation after them, and trying to articulate, because to them it's just a picture, or it's just Instagram, and so being able to articulate that, and also advocating why you made the decision that you made with your design. So communication is a huge part of the job and existing and making content.
I agree with that. And that's what I've been trying to embed in my students. Like, you gotta talk up for yourself. You gotta say why you chose to do that, like you just said, and why you don't agree with what they're saying. However, you still need to be able to receive that critique, because we don't see the bigger picture sometimes. So, and when you're first starting out, you might not see the bigger picture. So what they're saying may be right. So it kind of goes both ways. Cortland, did you want to add anything? Any feedback to wrap it up?
No, I think I totally agree with what everybody was saying about communication.
Okay. All right. Well, I can conclude our meeting. And Thank you, Portland, for
having
hanging
us.
out. I know the Teams wasn't working, but thanks for hanging on.